Okay, Dr. Aditi Nerurkar is a Harvard-trained stress expert who says that modern life is breaking our brains. Today, she's here to tell us why we're all overwhelmed, why doctors aren't helping, and how to actually fix it without quitting life and moving into a cave. Okay, buckle up, bitch. I already did your intro, so just tell me, why do you do what you do? What do you do and why do you do it?
I am a doctor, a health communicator, and an author. And my why is because I was a stress patient before I became any of these things, like a doctor with an expertise in stress. I was a stress patient looking for answers in desperate need of change. And when I went through my personal stress struggle, I went to go see my doctor, who did all the tests and then said, just relax, try to relax more. It's just stress. And I found my own way out of my stress struggle by putting on my scientist hat. And I had access to read all the latest research and figured out what was happening to my brain and my body, found my way out of stress. And then I vowed to become the doctor I needed during that difficult time. So when people say I feel a lot of stress, my response, the utterly unhelpful but well-intentioned response, which is like, just relax more.
Yeah.
I can offer something a little bit more tangible because I've been there and I've had that experience of that dark tunnel of stress. And so that is why I do what I do. So whether it be through my talks or my book or, talking to incredible people like you, I get to share some real strategies that can help people cope. Particularly now more than ever, when we know that stress and burnout and mental health issues are like at unprecedented levels.
Would you say it's an epidemic?
It is. I often like to say that it's like the second pandemic, and that word, like you hear the P word, you're like, we don't have to talk about that word ever again, but it is. It's very much living in the shadows. As doctors, like I've always known that this is a major issue. But over the past several years, I think if there is one silver lining to the challenges that we've gone through, is that we finally have a greater acknowledgement, acceptance, and awareness of this happening. People would come to see me in my office, patients, but now people in the C-suite are talking about mental health for the first time. And so there's lots of good things happening, but that is like the one silver lining, I would say, of like the past few years that have been pretty dismal. So totally an epidemic. And
how do you define stress?
Ooh, that's a good question. It's a good place to start. So when you and I say, I've had a stressful week or a stressful year or a stressful 5 years, what you and I are talking about is a particular kind of stress. And according to the science, there's actually two kinds of stress. So when you are saying, I've had a lot of stress, what you're describing is bad stress, unhealthy stress. It's unproductive, dysfunctional. Scientifically, we call it maladaptive stress. It gets in the way of your everyday life. It affects your brain and your body. People experience things like anxiety, depression, insomnia, irritability.
Bloating?
Yes. So physical symptoms, right? And so many symptoms. It's I say that stress is like the multi-hyphenate performer, like Beyonce or Taylor Swift, right? If they had a baby, it would be stress. Like it can do everything and all at once. And there's also a good kind of stress, which we don't talk about. Scientifically, it's called adaptive stress. So what is good stress? It's healthy, motivating. It gets you up out of bed in the morning. It gets you to do lots of things like maybe, get a new job or a promotion, fall in love, have a child, plan your next beach vacation, root for your favorite sports team. The goal of life is not zero stress. It's actually biologically impossible to do that. It's what got you up out of bed this morning.
It also probably keeps you safe too, right? Like it gets you out of an abusive situation because you're stressed and right?
Yeah. And so the goal is not zero stress, even though, don't fall for the false advertising of products that are like, you'll have zero stress. It's false advertising. It's about healthy, manageable stress and transforming your stress back to healthy levels, away from that dysfunctional, unhealthy stress back to healthy levels.
Okay, I see. And did you post this study that like 80% of patients go into doctors for help with stress and like only 3% of them are actually helped? What is it? Did I
Yeah.
butcher
So
that?
60, yeah, it's just wild. That was actually one of the first things I learned, which is what prompted me to do this work because I wanted to close that gap. So 60 to 80% of all primary care visits. So when you go
Are
see your
stress
doctor and you're
related.
like, this hurts, or I don't feel good, you know, all like 60 to 80% of those visits have a stress related component, meaning like me, when I experienced my stress struggle, I wasn't like mentally saying, oh, I'm stressed. I went in because I felt a stampede of wild horses across my chest. So I thought, oh my God, it's definitely my heart. And after the full workup, the doctor was like, it's just stress. So 60, 80% of all patient visits have a component of that stress related component. And yet only 3% of doctors counsel for stress. That was a study that I did, like a nationwide study. And we found that only 3% of doctors counsel for stress. And so there's a huge gap there
But
in,
why? Why? Thanks to Live It Up for sponsoring this episode. Mornings are hectic enough without trying to squeeze in complicated wellness routine. Who has time for that? That's why I've started reaching for one small thing that actually makes a difference. Live It Up Super Greens is an all natural blend of over 20 superfoods formulated with organic vegetables, probiotics, digestive enzymes, and naturally derived ingredients. I see you in the comments asking, hey, Laura, what is in this drink? Live it up, ladies. That's what. It's free from sugar, dairy, gluten, and anything artificial. It's something you can feel good about taking every single day, whether you're juggling work, kids, or just trying to feel a little more like yourself. Live It Up Super Greens are a small step that makes a difference. And for all you awesome folks out there, Live It Up is offering you 15% off your first order, including subscriptions, with code IDIOT. Plus, shipping's always free. Head to letsliveitup.com/idiot and use your idiot code for 15% off your first Super Greens order. Let's live it up. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
so many reasons. So first, it's not the doctor's fault. It's not an individual failing for doctors. For doctors to actually do their job well, they have to work 27 hours a day. But there are only 24 hours a day. And so that's like another study if you really add up everything that a doctor is supposed to do, right? So impossible demands, impossible standards. That's the first thing. It's a systemic failing. It's a failure of the system and not the person. And then so many other factors, like because a doctor has impossible demands, they're going to ask you about your cholesterol. Have you had a mammogram? Have you had a pap smear? Let's look at your blood work. Let's look at your medications. And stress falls low, low, low on the list. And it's often not even on the list. The other reason is because stress, it's this like weird nebulous thing. And a lot of my work focuses on making it quantifiable, like something you can measure, monitor, and manage. But if you ask a patient, are you stressed? And the person says yes, then what do you do with that information? So it's this like vague, nebulous thing. So people, it's like opening up Pandora's box. It's like, oh, let's just leave it closed. That's not to say that doctors don't recognize that stress is a major issue. Of course they do. But when they have these impossible demands, how can they do all of that and then also ask about stress and also offer counseling? So it's like a system-wide issue. So the first step I always suggest is like, if you're having a symptom that you feel like, wait a second, I think this could be related to stress, like you were saying, bloating. If you notice that when you're stressed, you have bloating and it gets better when you have less stress and it's related, first see your doctor. Make sure that you don't have something underlying going on, in the case of bloating, something going on in your abdomen and your GI tract, something that's causing you to have a little bloating. And then once your doctor says, oh, clean bill of health, it's nothing, then we call stress a diagnosis of exclusion, meaning we have to make sure in medicine, we make sure that there's nothing else going on. And then we say, oh, it's just stress, same way my doctor said to me with my heart.
That makes sense. Yeah. And then also, do you feel like people are over medicated, or that seems to be the solution? Is like you go in saying you're stressed or anxious and the conclusion is like Xanax.
Xanax is really helpful for many, many people.
But it's also it's incredibly dangerous for a lot of people too.
Yes, and it has a high addictive potential.
Yeah.
So what happens with something like Xanax is that you need more and more to get the same effect. In science, it's called tachyphylaxis, but in regular people speak, it's called tolerance. You develop a tolerance, right? Like you need more and more Xanax to feel the same effects that you may have felt earlier when you first started taking it. And so there's so many things that happen as a result of, not really focusing on the what I like to call like there's two differences. It's like you can be healed, but you can still not be cured, or you can be cured and not healed, and
Yes.
you want medicine to do both. You want to go see your doctor because you want them to create a healing presence or what we call a therapeutic encounter in science. Like you feel good when you see them. But so often, because of all of the constraints around the healthcare system, time, insurance, resources, access to care, that isn't really always met. And so it's not a health care system. It's a sick care system.
Damn.
So you go in, you get the
Wow.
thing fixed, and then you leave.
So wait, what was your health crisis? Why did you go or your stress crisis?
Yeah. So I was a medical resident. I was working 80 hours a week. I was in my medical training. That particular month, I was in the cardiac ICU. So I was taking care of like really sick people with various heart conditions. And then one day after a 30-hour call, we did 30-hour calls all the time. And I had a stampede of wild horses. Like it knocked the wind out of me. And then I drank a little orange juice. The nurse I was working with was like, "Are you okay?" And it went away within like seconds. And I kept working. And it happened night after night for weeks and weeks until I finally said, "I need to go see a doctor. I think this could be my heart." And I went and I got the full medical workup. And the doctor was like, "Everything came back fine. It's just stress. Just try to relax." And so I did all the things to try to relax. I went to movies, retail therapy, massages, went on a vacation. Nothing helped until I put my scientist hat on and found my way out of stress by reading what I could. And really, a lot of it stems from this idea of toxic resilience. So when I was a medical student and when I was like early residency, words like self-care, burnout, self-love, boundaries, these were not part of my vocabulary. It's like not how I was trained. The mantra that I followed, that I was taught like first week of medical school, is pressure makes diamonds. And so when, I would hit a wall of exhaustion, I would say to myself, "I'm a diamond in the making. Just keep going." And then my diamond cracked. And so when
That's toxic resilience.
Yes. So I was living the resilience myth. And I was like the poster child of toxic resilience, which is basically, like you just keep going. You don't listen to your limits. You don't understand your boundaries. You just keep going. Why? Because when that doctor said, "I think it's just stress," my first reaction actually, Lara, was stress. Stress doesn't happen to people like me. I'm resilient. Because the resilience myth states that, you've heard this so much. You've heard when people are like, "Oh, you're resilient. You're not burned out." Or you say to yourself, "I can't get burned out. I'm resilient." But we know through the science that, of course, you can get burned out. You can feel stressed. You can have anxiety, depression, all sorts of things, and still be resilient. So what is toxic resilience? Toxic resilience is a manifestation of hustle culture. It's productivity at all costs. It's a mind over matter mindset. It's like the Energizer Bunny mentality. Like no matter what, just keep going. Yeah. But true resilience, according to the science, is your innate biological ability to adapt, recover, and grow in the face of life's challenges. And true resilience honors your boundaries, understands your human limitations, really leans into this idea of self-compassion and giving yourself rest. Yeah. And so much, that's why you and I, if someone tells you to be more resilient right now, or if you're going to like, I don't know, go to a talk or something and someone's like, "Oh, it's about resilience," you often will cringe. I have it's totally a cringeworthy word now, right? You're like, "Ugh, don't tell me to be more resilient." And that is because we've kind of embraced this idea of toxic resilience, this true resilience. So a lot of my work helps to debunk that. Like resilience is innate. It's your innate biological ability. We all have it, that true resilience, but you have to lean into rest, recovery. This is not a sign of weakness. This is a sign of strength.
Wow. So then, okay, so you weren't really getting help from your doctor. So you dove in and decided to do it yourself. And what did you discover?
Yeah. So I started to read everything I could under the sun. My first reaction was like, stress. It doesn't happen to people like me. I'm resilient. Yeah. And I then started reading studies to say, like, what happens to your body and your brain when you have too much stress? Because this is now my second year of medical training, working 80 hours a week. And then I discovered all sorts of things that how stress affects your brain and your body, and things that you can do to help. And so I started, I was still working 80 hours a week, and I started bringing in some of these strategies that are in the 5 Resets, my book. And I started teaching, then the 5 Resets has 15 of these strategies, 5 mindset shifts and 15 strategies. Okay. But there's so many more that I wasn't able to include. Yeah. So I started building some of these things into my life. And what's crazy for me at the time, it's not crazy now, of course, because I've specialized in it, but at the time I started to feel better. Like when I did better, when you know better, you do better. And I was able to rewire my brain for less stress. And I did that using very simple techniques. It's not, it's a myth that you're going to have to spend so much time. If you have a lot of stress and burnout, you're going to, leave and move to Bali for 6 months on a sabbatical. Sign me up for that life plan. I would love to do it, but that's not realistic for many people. We have financial constraints and responsibilities and all sorts of constraints on our time and energy. And we might be taking care of kids or elderly parents or all sorts of stuff. So what can you do, like short of leaving for Bali and checking out? You can do something in the middle of your messy, overscheduled life. And so that is what I learned to do. And so I did this for myself, found my way out of stress. And then I started, then I vowed to become the doctor I needed. So I started learning about the mind-body connection. And that simply means that your brain and your body are linked and talking to each other, and how you can influence that. It's like gravity. It's happening. It's, if you've never heard of the mind-body connection before, it's like butterflies are falling in love. Or when you are nervous about something, your palms get sweaty, or you have a dry mouth. Or when you're excited, you have certain feelings. So this is the mind-body connection, essentially, that your thoughts and emotions influence your body and vice versa. And so it's happening in the background like gravity always, but now you can control that, and you can learn certain strategies to control it. And so that's a lot of my work. It focuses on mind-body connection. And then it also focuses on something that I'm just going to quickly describe in science, that rewiring process of the brain. It's called neuroplasticity. It's like such a long scientific word, but it simply means that your brain is a muscle, just like your bicep. So how like if you want to get, stronger muscles, you go to the gym and you do some bicep curls to get your muscles stronger. In the same way, you can do certain exercises to get your brain stronger and rewire it. So instead of like being wired for stress and feel, that loop, you can rewire certain parts of your brain. So to build that like true resilience.
And that's just through creating new habits, right? Doing things.
Yeah. And it's very small, like small little changes.
Like what?
So we
can do stop teasing me. What do I do? I'm stressed.
Oh my God. The ultimate tease. Let me teach you the first thing I learned.
Okay.
So I was seeing 30 to 40 patients a day. And I learned something in a class that I took called Stop, Breathe, Be. We can do it together. It's a 3-second brain reset. And what you do is you stop. The instructions are in the name. You stop, you breathe, and you just be. You ground yourself in this present moment. What Stop, Breathe, Be does, it's a 3-second way to get out of that what if thinking that's focused on the future. What if I fail? What if this doesn't go well? What if thinking? It's like anxious thoughts. It's about the future. It's future focused. Yeah. And when you do the Stop, Breathe, Be, you get out of what if thinking back to what is in the here and now. You tap into your mind-body connection. And over time, if you practice it again and again throughout the day, you can strengthen your mind-body connection. And it's really great to practice. Like I used to do it. It was my doorknob moment. So when I would turn the door, I would knock on the door of the exam room as I was a medical resident, and I would turn the doorknob to go into the room of the patient. And right as I would turn in the doorknob, I would say to myself, stop, breathe, be, under my breath, and I would enter. So you can do it when you're clicking. I did it, in fact, right before you and I joined. I clicked join Zoom, click, stop, breathe, be, click. You can do it when you're checking your phone. If you're trying to have better phone habits, you can do it when you're, brushing your teeth, making coffee, going in and out of your house. Because so often we're just rushing. We forget things, stop, breathe, be. Transition points of the day. So that's a great first step. It's easy. You can do it throughout the day. And what it does is it strengthens your mind-body connection. It also creates a brain break. And studies show that when you have these frequent short brain breaks throughout the day, it improves your ability to learn. It improves your stress overall. And we can talk about this now, but there's actually 2 brain areas that you want to really focus on when you're trying to get your stress back in check. So you have an area that's deep in your brain. It's the size of an almond. You'll never think of almonds the same way again. It's called your amygdala. And that amygdala is in your brain and it's cave person mode. It's focused on survival and self-preservation. And that amygdala is where your stress response lives. And we call the stress response fight or flight, right?
Live it up. Thanks to Live It Up for sponsoring this episode. My days don't always go as planned, but having something simple and nourishing to build into my routine, it makes me feel like I'm doing something right. Live It Up Super Greens is an all-natural blend of over 20 superfoods formulated with organic vegetables, probiotics, digestive enzymes, and naturally derived ingredients. And I gotta be honest, it's delicious. Like they sent it to me the other week and I've been taking it every morning since then. And it tastes so good. So I just do 1 scoop in my cup, fill it up with water. Sometimes I squeeze a lemon in there, sometimes not. And I just chug it down. And they have this really cool whisk that turns on. It's like, and it tastes really good. And I just feel more switched on. Do you guys remember I was talking about the brain fog that I had for a while? Don't really have that anymore. Anyway, it's a small habit, but it has a ripple effect. 96% of people who take Super Greens daily say it helps them increase their daily intake of vegetables and helps them feel healthier. I see you in the comments asking, hey, Laura, what's in the drink? Live it up, ladies. That's what. It tastes good. It is good. It's free from sugar, dairy, gluten, anything artificial. It's something you can feel good about taking every day, whether you're juggling work, kids, or just trying to feel a little more like yourself. Live It Up Super Greens are a small step to make a big difference. And for all of you awesome folks out there, Live It Up is offering you 15% off your first order, including subscriptions, with code IDIOT. Plus, shipping's always free. Head to letsliveitup.com/idiot and use your code IDIOT for 15% off your first Super Greens order. Let's live it up. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
So when you have a feeling of stress, that like it's activated, that amygdala, and you start scanning for danger, and you're all those hormones are going, and cortisol and adrenaline, etc. And so what you're trying to do when you do these short resets like Stop, Breathe, Be, and a whole bunch of others, you get out of amygdala mode back to your prefrontal cortex. So if you put your hand on your forehead, it's the area right behind your forehead. And what your prefrontal cortex does, it's adulting. So strategic planning, organization, memory, all of these things that are important, complex problem solving for us in our regular everyday lives. But that prefrontal cortex is kind of hijacked by the amygdala when you're feeling a sense of stress. And so you're giving that prefrontal cortex its power back by doing some of these short little things that you do throughout the day. And over time, that it like becomes rewired. You can think about rewiring your brain kind of like going from like a dirt path. The more you walk on a dirt path, what happens is like it, levels out. Maybe then you get like a wider path. Maybe someone comes in and paves it. Now you have like a 2-lane road, and maybe and then you keep working on it, and then it's like, a 4-lane highway.
Is it true?
Same thing with neuroplasticity. The more you use it.
And is it true the prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed until 25? Because I think about all the dumb shit I did pre-25. I was dangerously impulsive. I was, had insane boyfriends, which kind of still do sometimes. And, but yeah, I was just truly, I look back at that girl pre-25 and I'm like, who was that?
Same girl, same. I'm glad that like back when I was 25, there were no iPhones.
Dude, I would
and
be
no
canceled.
smartphones to capture the debauchery. But yeah, of course. I mean, there's so many things, this is why your prefrontal cortex doesn't develop until you're 25, which is why it's so important to, we can talk about like digital boundaries and other things with your phone, but it's especially important for kids. Now, the interesting thing about that is that your brain, yes, like the prefrontal cortex doesn't fully develop until you're 25. But even after that, Laura, like you can keep, like I've had patients who've been 85, 92 and change their brain and rewire it for better by what they do during the day. So
That's
it's not
really
like,
cool.
it's not like, oh yeah, after 25, like that's it.
No,
That's your brain.
I agree. Like I always hated the phrase "you can't teach an old dog new tricks," because especially because I'm in a 12-step recovery group, and I'll be sober coming on 14 years, October 29th. Crazy.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Huge.
But that's
Huge.
that's rewiring my brain, and I did it through learning. Every morning I prayed, even though I'm not religious, but to some sort of higher power, whatever. I just did it. Asked God to keep me sober. I meditated every day, even sometimes if it was 3 minutes. I then go to a support group, once a week still, and I share and I listen and I connect with others, like whatever. I just taught myself these new habits and taught myself how to live life sober. And then I see people in the rooms coming in at 60 years old, and they learn these new habits on how to live a healthy, meaningful life and stay present and keep your side of the street clean and, all that. So I'm a big proponent of that. So I wonder.
I love it.
Yeah.
And silence your inner critic.
Yeah.
That's a huge one. When you're going through a 12-step program or frankly, any kind of thing, when you're feeling a sense of stress, that inner critic, that voice that berates you to tell you like, you'll never succeed and why even bother. That inner critic, by the way, is powered by your amygdala, the same part of your brain that manages your stress response. And it gets a megaphone when you're feeling a sense of stress. Why? Because when you're trying something new, like a 12-step recovery program or anything, you're putting yourself out of your comfort zone. And the inner critic and the amygdala is afraid. It's like, whoa, something new. What's going on? Let's keep you back. Let's keep you back in the comfort zone. And so a lot of the work is like what you've done is like you've taken that inner critic, the megaphone, out of the inner critic's hand. And you're like, no, you've silenced your inner critic. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Because it's like for my best, for my benefit.
And it's like, I fucking mastered it with sobriety. Like I don't want to pick up and drink, but I still struggle in other areas. Like even yesterday, like I went through a divorce 3 years ago and I have this boyfriend and we've been together for 2 years, but taking it incredibly slow. We don't live together. I'm never doing the rushing into things ever again. Right. I've learned. But even yesterday I found like he didn't react the way I wanted him to. He didn't say what I wanted. And I felt this sense of abandonment and the amygdala was like firing up, like leave him, never talk to him again, and it was just like, leave me alone, I'm done. And it was so reactive and childish. And I was like, why did I say those things? I feel like such an idiot right now. Why did I do that?
And we all do it. Like I know all the science and I just like.
You still do it?
That's so angry. Yeah.
You're
with my
still
husband.
cray sometimes? Okay.
Of course. I mean, we're human beings, right? We're not robots. I absolutely do it. And then you have to catch yourself. Awareness is the first step and it's probably the biggest step. Like the fact that you had that recognition of like, wait a second, why am I doing this? That is huge because when you have that first step of like acknowledging, wait a second, you've already like gone more than halfway.
But I just want to understand the psychology of it. Like, why was I so reactive and self-destructive in that moment? Was it the amygdala trying to keep me safe, going, this is a potential new threat that could hurt you again, like your ex did, so he needs to go, keep you safe? Like, is that what was going on?
Keep you safe, patterns. It's complicated. It's like you were triggered.
I was triggered.
Well, so there could be like underlying, I don't know, because we haven't talked extensively like your background, but is there like a history of maybe a little, even if it's like mild or minimal trauma, that can you feel a sense of triggering. And that's, again, it's not you. It's not a personal feeling. If you're feeling like this, if any of this is resonating with you, it's not a personal feeling. Your brain isn't broken. There's nothing wrong with you. It's actually your stress response behaving exactly as it should to keep you safe. So for you, Laura, that moment of like, the trigger and like you shrunk back, you're like, oh my God, why is he doing this? I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
I'm ending it.
Never speak to me again. You're not husband material. What?
Yeah.
Like he just didn't respond the way I wanted. Like it was so dramatic and reactive. And I'm like, I felt like such an asshole, Yeah. And, but that's so interesting. So it's a trauma response. And in that moment I could
be. I mean, it could also just be a stress response. Trauma, that word,
right.
it's a clinical word. So you don't, you don't want to just say that unless you have an actual diagnosis of trauma, but it's a stress response that we can totally say because you felt threatened, you felt like you were triggered. You're like, what do you mean? Like you felt abandoned, and immediately you were like, self-preservation, survival.
So in that moment, I can stop, breathe, be.
Perfect.
Stop,
right
breathe,
in that
be.
moment when it's all coming up, instead of berating yourself, like, why do I feel like this? Oh my God, something must be wrong with me. Stop, breathe, be. And if you have to do that a few times to kind of calm down that stress response, then you will. And then your inner critic, the megaphone, the volume, you're turning down the volume. And then that rational brain, the prefrontal cortex, gets back online and says, it's okay, Laura. He's not abandoning you. He was just thinking about something else. He was distracted. It's okay. Take a deep breath. You're going to be okay. You're safe.
I'm going to be okay. I'm safe. And then just label my feelings. Hey, I didn't feel heard or seen when I was vulnerable to you. And that made me feel abandoned. And that's it. And he would have had a fully different reaction had I not been so reactive. So that pause moment is so important, but it can feel so difficult when the amygdala takes over. Like that is very difficult to combat sometimes.
Yeah, it's not like, we call the amygdala in science your reptile brain because it's called the reptilian brain.
Yeah.
And that's because that part of your amygdala has not evolutionarily developed the way your prefrontal cortex has. And so, it's like, it's a knee-jerk response. It's cave person mode. You're like, me hurt.
Yeah.
Me hurt you.
Yeah.
Like
literally. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
it just happens like split seconds.
Yeah. What, can you go through the 5 resets?
Yes, sure. I have a copy right here.
Love
if
it.
You want to see it. Okay. So the 5 resets, there are 5 key. The 5 resets are 5 mindset shifts. And in each one, there's about, I would say, anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 actual strategies. So stop, breathe, be is 1. Creating your most goal, creating a backwards plan. There's so many in here. But the first reset is get clear on what matters most. And most is an acronym. It gets you out of amygdala mode to your prefrontal cortex. Okay. That's what the first reset is about. And there's several strategies. The second one is find quiet in a noisy world. Mm-hmm. This is specifically about digital boundaries and protecting your sleep and the sleep scroll cycle. This particular one is more important now than ever since so many of us, our amygdala is heightened and we're scanning for danger. It's like a night watchman at night. Back when we were all caves people, like the tribes people would sleep and there'd be a night watchman scanning for danger. We do the same thing with scrolling. So when you're stressed out, your amygdala is triggered and you start, doom scrolling. You're like, oh my God. And you don't feel good doing it, but you can't stop. Again, it's all the amygdala. So how do you find quiet in this noisy world? And there's ways that you can do that. The third is to sync your brain to your body. This focuses a lot on the mind-body connection, different breathing techniques. Stop, breathe, be is a part of it. There's like the 4-7-8 technique and so many others like in this particular reset. The fourth reset is come up for air. I'm looking down because I don't want to get them opposite, you know what I mean? The fourth reset is come up for air. This is not what you think it is. It's not breathing air. Come up for air focuses on how to create boundaries around your time and attention. So I talk a lot about how multitasking is a myth and, a gratitude practice and all these different things and how it actually changes your brain and rewires your brain. Things for productivity, because that's like a big thing people are thinking about. And it's like, I feel a lot of stress and burnout. How can I be productive? And so this particular reset is for that. And then the final reset is bring your best self forward. So in this particular reset, I talk a lot about the inner critic and how you have to learn to silence that inner critic through various strategies to then bring your best self forward, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so that was a perfect and beautiful example of like, you had that trigger with your boyfriend and then you practice stop, breathe, be, because you want to get to a place eventually of when you keep doing that and doing that, eventually that first knee jerk the volume of the amygdala will be low in that moment, so that your prefrontal cortex, you can be like, okay, he didn't mean to do it that way,
Yeah.
And then that is something, because the goal is like, you want to bring your best self forward, your future self, which is what the 12-step program does. It's like you have to envision that version of you, and then you're walking there. I will say that when you're feeling a sense of stress, you're governed by your amygdala, right? Like that, the amygdala is driving the train. By design, your amygdala is focused on your immediate needs, your immediate survival. And so it is very normal to get in your own way when you're feeling a sense of stress, because by design, the amygdala is just like thinking about like right here, right now. So when you like sent that knee-jerk text, you're like, it's not your fault. It's not like you're weak or anything. It's just how your brain is designed. So what you want to do, and that's why it's hard when you're feeling a sense of stress in the moment, to think and strategize and plan. It's like we all know what we need to do to feel better, healthier, get better sleep. It's not about a gap in knowledge or information. It's a gap in action. So a lot of my work helps you close that gap. So from where you are to where you'd like to eventually be, your future self.
Wow. That's super interesting. Yeah. And if I look back at yesterday, it's like, it actually didn't really have to do with him. I had a very stressful day. A lot of really insane things are kind of going on that I can't control in my life. My ex-husband's having this literal public relapse, doing drugs, saying horrible things about me to millions of people. Like, it's just a lot. I've got 4 and a 6-year-old. My 6-year-old's nonverbal. And like, I'm just managing becoming a single mom. And then there's this new man.
Superwoman. You're a superwoman.
It's wild. And I would say I'm doing like fairly well.
You're doing amazing.
But it's fucking wild. So I'm like at the police station, and then I have to like come home and like be fun and goofy and play, frickin' dragons and monsters and princesses with my 4-year-old. And you know what I mean? It's just balancing it all, and somehow be funny for a living. Like, so I just think all of that. And then poor boyfriend doesn't respond the way I want, and I react, but I did make amends for it shortly after. And
that's huge.
And it's,
And then I would just say, like, for you particularly, and for anyone, listen, for me, like yesterday, I had to have had a little talk with myself. It's, you got to lean into self-compassion. By the way, self-compassion dials down the volume of your amygdala. So it's not just like, these are nice things out there, but it actually changes.
How do I lean into self-compassion?
You can practice something called therapeutic writing. And I write about it in the 5 resets. It's, so there's several ways. First is therapeutic writing. When you've had a traumatic experience, like your ex relapsing, sounds like it's very difficult.
Yeah.
4 consecutive days, write for 20 to 25 minutes, set a timer, freehand, write about the experience.
Wait,
you'll notice like typing doesn't work as well as writing, because typing uses a different neural circuitry. Like when you go to the grocery store and you type your list, and if you lose, like, I don't know where you've typed it, you won't remember. But when you write, it uses a different neural circuitry. So it's better to write. Freehand, 20 to 25 minutes, set a timer, and then you do it for 4 days straight. And it helps process a lot of difficult emotion, lots of science. This man, his name is James Pennebaker. He's done a lot of writing. He's done a lot of work on it. The second thing is to start keeping a gratitude journal. That can really help dial down the volume. I do that. This isn't like a teenage journal. It's just 5 things that you're grateful for every day.
I love it. I'm a huge gratitude junkie. I love making gratitude lists.
Every single day, no matter what, once a day, 5 things you're grateful for and why. Write it down. Keep it by your nightstand. No one has to see it. That actively changes your brain as well. And so leaning into self-compassion. Another thing I love doing for myself is like, you do mirror gazing. That is so powerful. You look in the mirror and you look at yourself and you kind of talk to yourself. It's mirror therapy or mirror work. There's so many strategies to really lean into self-compassion, give yourself grace, because you're doing amazing. And what would you tell your friend? Like if your friend was going through this, and wouldn't you say to her, like, you are just such a rock star?
Yes.
And we're so much harder on ourselves than we are on others. And just like, be a friend to yourself first and foremost. Also parent yourself. You are a mom of two, you're doing it all. And sometimes like you need to parent yourself and give yourself like that love and kindness and compassion that you give to everyone else. Like, give it to yourself too.
Totally. Thank you. That was really helpful. What are your thoughts
I have a 3 o'clock. I have a 3 o'clock interview, and I'm so sorry, but I have to go to that.
That's okay. Do you want to? Okay, that's fine. I think we got a good amount. Is there anything you want to leave?
I would love to share. I started a newsletter, so you can follow me on social at Dr. Aditi Nerurkar. It's a mouthful, but it's at DRADITINERURKAR across socials. I'm most active on Instagram. And I also have a free weekly newsletter called Mental Health-ish.
Oh, yeah.
And it's on Substack, but you don't have to be a part of Substack to subscribe. It comes right to your inbox. It's totally free. And so you can check out my Instagram for it. And it's like linked right there. And I would love for you to subscribe if you're listening and this has been helpful to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And what's the one tip you would give people who are stressed as fuck? One biggest tip.
If there's one thing, it's exactly what we ended with, which is like, give yourself so much grace, so much compassion. When you look at the data, like I know the data, right? In a room of 30 people, 21 people are struggling with stress and burnout. So if this is you, you are not alone and it is not your fault.
Thank you. You're amazing. That was awesome.
You're a rock star.
Thank you. You are too. I love you. Oh, we didn't even get into sitting is the new smoking. Is that true?
It is. Yes, but I have to go. I have a 3 o'clock.
Should we be standing right now?
No, I'm sitting. But it's not like forever. It's just,
We've just been chain smoking this entire interview, essentially.
I would love to talk to you about
All right,
that.
Next time. We'll do part two.
Maybe you do part two.
Part two. Bye.
Bye, Laura. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. And guys, follow her.
Thank you for everything.
Yes. Thank you. Bye.
You're the best.
Thanks. You too.